I wanted to know, like, how did you guys survive during the COVID? Because I realized that you guys made such a transition from outside operation,
Mhm.
and you guys basically removed the indoor process, like the indoor dining, and went outside,
Yeah,
right?
for my particular location, or
Several
several. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
locations.
yeah.
I've noticed that. Are you guys gonna stay this way, or are you gonna eventually? Because I do like the outdoor process because I could see a chick. I could be on a Chick-fil-A line, and it goes a lot quicker,
Mhm.
and the line is a lot longer than I go to another competitor, right, of yours, and the line would be shorter, but then it's taking such a long time.
Yeah. Well, I would say, man, kudos to like our leadership team. And that's one of the things that I love about the franchise system is because you're truly buying into a system that's been tried and true, right? I always constantly look at the difference if I was a brick and mortar restaurant, startup, small business company. A lot of times I'm out having to outsource different systems. But the beauty about buying into a franchise system is you're kind of buying into an already partnership, thought out partnership. And
Mhm.
so the leadership at Chick-fil-A on the corporate side has already done kind of like the strategic thinking. So for us, really going into COVID was really about tapping into the technology that already existed for us. So when you think about mobile ordering and the Chick-fil-A app, we had already had some of those key strategies in place well before COVID. If
Mhm.
anything, it was about, hey, how do we switch from in person and now turn on these channels and really just dedicate focus, leadership, and attention to that area? And so you ask the question of how did we survive? That's to me, that's it.
Right.
Like I think about my own restaurant. You've been there.
Mhm.
Like we're kind of a new prototype where it's a inline concept. If you think about Chick-fil-A, historically, what's been a part of their portfolios is the large standalone type restaurants with drive-throughs and massive parking lots. Well,
Mhm.
here in New York City, that's not our approach.
Right.
Like so, all of my guests is foot traffic, walk in, counter service. And
Mhm.
so when we hit the pandemic, first, my first concern was okay, safety and health of my team members.
Right.
And how do we pivot? There were several times I contemplated about just completely shutting down. And
Mhm.
so, I approached my leadership and I said, how do you guys feel? If y'all tell me right now that we need to shut down, y'all
Mhm.
don't feel safe, that's the decision that I'm gonna make.
But as an owner operator, you make the final
Yeah,
decision. Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think, man, we can go on and on because
Right.
there are a lot of misconceptions out there about what the agreement is
Is.
between Chick-fil-A and the franchisee.
Right.
And this is why I love doing opportunities like this is because coming up, I didn't know what owner operators to go out there and talk to just hear. But again, for those that are always interested, the number one thing that you can do is to get in front of an operator and ask those questions, right?
Right.
There's not a whole lot of information out there on the internet. And oftentimes when you are reading it, it's
Right.
misinformation.
Correct.
So just do the research. And I'm again, like, that's why I'm glad I have these type of opportunities to kind of clear the air and you
Right.
hear it directly from
From the
someone that's,
source. Right.
from the source. But going back to Survivor and COVID, that was our play. And so when my leader said, no, like we thought that we were going to see a decline in sales,
Mhm.
but here's where we had to pull ourselves up. In actuality, especially in New York, we're still a part of the larger food supply chain.
Mhm.
I started to think about like the grocery stores that are in our areas that couldn't keep food on the shelves,
Right. Right.
like,
Right.
or couldn't
Right.
restock quickly enough. And
Mhm.
so a lot of during that time, man, we had so many first responders coming in just thanking us, like for being open because they don't have time to go to the grocery stores and grab those
That's a
things. And
fact.
so when we started to see that change, it was like, okay, how do we tap into our already like mobile channels? And I'm a huge, huge fan of the Chick-fil-A mobile app, man. For
Mhm.
those that don't have it, you think you're moving quickly, download that app, right?
Right.
And so for us, partnering with some of our third party partners, DoorDash, Grubhub, and I'm pretty sure that's kind of been a part of the survival strategy for a lot of restaurants, even
Mhm.
mom and pop small businesses.
Yeah.
And so it's needed. And it's one of those things like we're embedded in part of the American lifestyle. It's not one of those things that you can just easily come in and flip off. And so, yeah, I know a lot of my peers that weren't as fortunate to, remain open, or just due to whether it was employee circumstances or whatever the case may be,
Right.
they had to close down. And I'm just extremely grateful for the leadership of my team, and also just the support of the Brooklyn community at large.
Right.
Because without those two parties, we still wouldn't have been able to survive.
And I'm glad you point that out, because you guys are really part of the community.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing. How were you able to get into downtown Brooklyn?
So
you got a key, that's like basically prime real estate, right?
Yeah. So kudos again to Chick-fil-A's internal leadership and their real estate team. Again, one of the reasons why I love just the dynamics and being in business, honestly, with the Cathy family as well, is because it's credit to those guys. Like, my first franchise was located in downtown Baltimore. Right. And so at the time I had interest in coming to New York, the real estate market just wasn't ready. It wasn't right. It just didn't make sense. And so we have our own kind of internal real estate team. Like, these guys are like gurus, experts. That ain't my wheelhouse, right? So you gotta know your strengths and play to those.
Absolutely.
Play to those strengths. And so I actually thought Brooklyn was further down the development pipeline. We're opening up in Manhattan and all of those things, and all at the same time, I'm still trying to get my feet underneath me in Baltimore, because that was the first city store in Baltimore. And so I'm still working through those challenges and trying to figure out how to make business work that way. And so, again, kudos to just our internal real estate team that developed a really, really good relationship with the landlord that we had, because that particular location was sought after by many, many different people. But I think the advantage that we have as a brand, it goes back to what you were saying, is the feeling. Like, you don't feel like you're walking into a fast food restaurant, right? I oftentimes correct people when they try to call us fast food. I said, no, we're quick service, right? So consider you getting a 4 or 5 star dining experience, but it's just at a faster pace. Yeah. And that's what we strive to deliver on.
That's true, because I did the research again, and then come to find out that Chick-fil-A is, and pardon me if I call it fast food, but Chick-fil-A is actually the healthiest. And that's when I start to realize that you guys are more intentional about how you provide the food.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thought that was amazing.
Yeah. I'm from fresh delivered produce every single day. I've had an opportunity to see behind the scenes how we source our chicken products, and just that whole entire process. Is like you would do if you were going to the store and you're buying fresh products and you're trying to prepare it in your home.
Right.
We adopt some of those same type principles. And the relatability factor is what draws me in, because I got to be able to stand behind a product and a brand that I too would consume.
Right.